Well, you're ready for product analytics, though, right? You just dropped in a bunch of amazing stuff,
We're back,
and
and we're here to
back.
talk about product analytics. Apparently,
Got
I'm the
him.
man with the plan who didn't come
Look at this
prepared.
energy. Look at this energy. It's amazing. Welcome to the Whale Webby. As always, I have my two partners in crime, the best looking man in Utah, Sandra Schroeder. Chandra, welcome to the show. How are you?
Just peachy. What a day it's been.
How's
What a
your
day.
how's your 75? Are you still have you busted
Good,
it yet?
man. Yeah,
Oh, you're up there now, right?
yeah, I just finished 45 yesterday. So
Anybody? Oh, Richard. Check out the heat. Powerful Richard Silva. Looksy Designs. 45, 47, what'd you say? That's a lot. That's amazing.
day 45, down 15 pounds.
What for the kids that don't know, what's 75 hard?
So you do 2 45-minute workouts a day. One has to be outside, so has to.
Okay.
A gallon of water, 10 pages of reading. You have to take a progress pic every single day.
Like in your boxers, show off your belly.
Hey, just let me know, Logan, when you want one of those not
Send-
safe for work pics.
I might just follow you on Instagram. I'm sure you've been posting them every day, right?
Yeah, his feed is fun.
No, I don't. I'm trying to think. There's a couple other things, but that's pretty much the gist. It's more of like a mental discipline, but when you're disciplined there, it definitely carries over to like fitness. Oh, you have to keep a diet, no alcohol, no cheat meals. So there you go.
What has been the hardest part? And has everybody else done in the chat room? Has anybody else done a 75 hard? I tried it for a little bit. I kind of liked it, and then it was like 3 days, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
3 hard.
3 hard. The 3 hard.
I mean, the hardest thing for me, I mean, I had a pretty bad knee injury a few weeks ago during a basketball game.
Okay.
And so like just having to do the workouts during then, I was just like, maybe I shouldn't make a joke here. I have a handicapped brother, so maybe I could, but I was gonna make a tiny Tim joke. I was just like limping around, everywhere I was going. So that was like so that was probably the hardest thing, was having to stick to it with like a pretty bad injury. So
totes. Speaking of, did you guys see the latest Elon Musk stuff? With, oh man, it's so bad.
I'll side with you on this one. All right.
Oh really? You're kind of wow. Finally,
Give me the deets. I'm out of the loop. Come on, don't leave me hanging.
How do you want to take it, Sandra? I have to be. We're trying to do a bunch of really cool stuff with Twitter, so I want to be very respectful of the commentary. But too long didn't read. There was somebody that had possibly been let go from Twitter, didn't know if they were let go from Twitter, so they took to Twitter to be like, hey, like, am I fired? Am I not fired? What's happening? HR won't say anything. Nobody will say anything. Powerful Jake Hoffman, for your services, sir. Send me I still have to send out the last week's swag, so if you haven't gotten a message from me, I'm sorry for that. But Jake,
swag backlog.
Swag backlog. Jake, we'll get you some merch. Just email me your address and size. And so this guy, he was like, "Oh, what do you do?" Kind of very, very on brand for Elon. A little bit of the,
He's asking him what he does in the Twitter thread.
It's crazy. It's actually funny because it started. All the stuff went down from a guy named Alex Cohen, who's actually out here in Austin. I'm friends with him. He's an investor, VC guy. But anyways, and so it gets to a point where Elon's kind of pretty flaming this guy. And then it comes to find out this guy's actually like incredibly talented. He ended up building a company that he sold to Twitter when Jack was there. And then come to find out that Elon was kind of dogging him for some physical disabilities that ended up not looking great for him. So anyways, we won't do any more Elon bashing, but it wasn't a great look. Wasn't a great look for him.
I mean, Elon's
it was pretty hard to justify it. Like, it was just all around. Just you're Elon Maxi, so give me that take, because I don't know how this one gets. The mental gymnastics to make this one okay is probably going to be some challenges. But hey, it's your company. You get to run it how you want.
He's done this before with other like Twitter employees. right? Where like they said, here's all the value I've like created for the company. And then he asked them like specifically like what's the value, and a lot of them couldn't say anything. So that's kind of how it started with this guy. And he didn't really like say much value to it. But then the problem is, yeah, then Elon went at him because the guy said he like couldn't type, but then Elon said, well, you can, you know, you're tweeting literally every single day. So what do you mean you can't like type? You know, and then that's when this guy brought up his disability. So it did get, you know, yeah, not great. Not great when that obviously happened.
Yeah, how does
That
Elon
could
not know he's not using like text or speech to text or something?
Yeah, well, he has no idea. But that
It-
kind of Elon's, I mean, Elon did have to cut a bunch of dead weight. So let's be like, we can be objective there. And
I agree. He also cut a bunch of revenue, but
It's a bold move, Cotton. We're gonna see how this one works out.
it's exactly. Let's throw
I
that
think
gift
that-
in there, and we'll move on.
LaFleur
Yeah.
has put on a blindfold
Yeah.
for the dodgeball championship. We're gonna see how this one works out.
Oh yeah, dude. It was definitely if Sandra is not screaming from the rooftops, you know, it wasn't a great take. And he to his credit or not, maybe it was his lawyers, but there was a very nice mea culpa that he issued, but just net, not a great look for everybody.
No,
that-
I mean, he honestly shouldn't even be like interjecting into those conversations anyway. That should all just be like HR. I like that he doesn't feel
And
like
people
he's
should know
above
when we get
anyone.
fired or not fired. Like I feel like that's not asking too much. Like this guy wasn't like begging for his job. This guy made a bunch of money selling that stuff to this company. He was just like, "Hey, dude, like, am I here? Am I not here?" Like I feel like that's not a huge ask. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of
No,
bounds on
I
that.
agree
but, like,
with
You're
you
out of
for
bounds.
sure.
I feel like somebody
it
should
back
know
in.
if they're hired or not hired. Anyways, Elon bashing aside, what else do we got in the news? We dropped some cool product analytics that we'll go over. What else is top of mind for you guys for the new stuff? I had a bunch. I had Sean Purry on ROAS, so really excited
Oh, that's
about that.
exciting.
That's gonna
Oh,
drop.
you did?
Yeah, that's gonna drop in a couple weeks. Really excited. You know how they say
Yeah.
don't meet your heroes. Absolutely blew me away. Like what a phenomenal human. Really, really well spoken. Was really awesome. What else? Tommy had a personal thread go viral. So Tommy had a thread on some cat go to like almost 6 million, which was pretty crazy. What else I got going on? The Hunter S. Thompson daily routine was released. I don't know if you guys ever seen this. I'll drop a link in the. That was also a very amazing thing. Oh, Richard, absolutely. We should talk about the profit scaling margin. Are we getting?
Yeah,
Oh,
Kelsey's
hearts.
mad at us.
Okay.
We got to roll.
Let's
Kelsey
go.
wants
Let's go,
product
Kelsey.
analytics.
Let's jump in. Okay.
Kelsey, thanks for
LB.
keeping us honest because we
Thank you,
we
Kelsey.
sit around. We're like what culture is it that loves to do like business where you meet and talk about like whatever before you actually get into business? Is it the Japanese culture? What you learn in business school?
No, well, the Japanese culture I know is they just get snookered. Like they get wasted.
We could do that.
All right,
I know. Let's go. Bring it up. See, amazing, Kelsey. That is felt in the three brothers. You feel like family. You can wrangle us in. All right, Logan, take us away. We already got okay. Sandra, put that question in there. Do you want to take
Kelsey's
us away
the
in
new
terms of
Kelsey's the new well wrangler. Sorry.
the new well? Oh, Logan, you're
taking
losing your title. Oh
My
no,
title's gone. Oh my
No.
gosh. All right, so I think
Kelsey-
this was this Jake that let us have this?
Yes, sir. This was Jake
yeah,
Hoffman.
Jake. Right
Powerful
on.
Jake Hoffman.
Jake, thanks so much for letting us use your store. So let's give this guy a round of applause.
We need
all right,
some, we need some sound effects. Production.
Let's start
value,
off with a
baby.
little backstory. As everyone who's been around Triple Whale for maybe if you've been around for 8 months or longer, you'll know about this, but we used to have a product analytics specific page in Triple Whale. It was really just bringing in all of your products from Shopify. And we had kind of like the classic array of analytics or metrics on those standard stuff like COGS and units in stock. And I'm not even sure if it had revenue in there, to be honest. Maybe it had total units sold, stuff like
Okay.
that. So the page disappeared. You know how this goes. And the people were upset. They were hounding us.
I've
to
seen
bring
this
back.
movie.
I've seen this movie a time or two. So anyway, this page disappeared. And to be honest, AJ had a really good vision for what he wanted this page to look like. And so I think almost in record time, like within 3 or 4 weeks, he spun this up, which is fantastic. So I know there's a lot of folks who are involved in it, not myself. So for all the PMs and AJ and the developers who built this, kudos to you. So what we've tried to do here, what we're hoping to do with this feature is to give you kind of a deeper understanding of how each individual product or SKU is performing at any given time. And so I think we have almost 40 metrics. So you can actually change all your column selectors here, or you can select the different metrics for your columns here. And so, yeah, I only have like 20 something actually in the table, and you could select another 15 more or something. So lots of awesome metrics. So today what we wanted to do is kind of walk you through how you can wrangle this report and kind of analyze your products. So that's where we wanted to go. Anybody want to add to that before we move forward?
No, I think I want to hear what you think are really important metrics, because one of the challenges with giving all the keys to the kingdom is you don't know where, like, how do you attack the burrito? You know what I mean? You order this double meat burrito.
Yeah, you're taking the side bite.
Is it a side bite? Do you take it head on? Do you try and cut it up with a knife? Like, I think that's what I would really be interested to see, is how you attack this burrito that is product analytics. Also, Richard, you're right. This Seek site is beautiful. It's a really it's clean. This branding's proper. Well done, Jake. So yeah, Logan, tell me where your head's at in terms of like the because caring about everything is caring about nothing, right? And so what do you prioritize?
Well, yeah, let's talk about like what the use cases are for even using this analysis first, and then I'll go into like how I would analyze it, and you guys can kind of riff off of those things. So most of us here in the chat are probably either owners of the brand or owners and or media buyers. We're thinking about the marketing mix. And so there's a lot of us have gone into Facebook buying and always talked about prospecting versus retargeting, new customers and returning customers. So I like to think about products in a similar manner. Some products are meant to be pure play, bring customers in the door. Some I think should be meant as upsells. There may be opportunities to like give those away or discount them, or maybe even like add them as an upsell item to the cart to drive AOV. And then some should be focused on returning customers. And I'll kind of talk about the way I would think about that. But in general, anytime you're launching a new product or you want to understand how products are trending over time, I think this is the place to come. So as you can see right now, we have these three, the first three products are selected. And we can actually sort this by revenue first. Fantastic. And we've made this chart view, which is pretty amazing. You might have noticed this if you use Creative Cockpit, for example.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always wanted to understand, not only from a media buying perspective, but also from a reordering perspective. So if you're working closely with your operations team, your product team, forecasting team, and they want to know, hey, listen, we need to make a decision on whether or not we're going to rebuy this and how much we need to buy. You can come to a table like this and actually review any given product and try to understand the revenue. And maybe we can look at, see if there's total sold, right? And so over time, we can have a better understanding of like how much this product is sold. So a huge spike here, Jake, which I bet Jake can tell us exactly, what led to this.
Valentine's Day, maybe?
Say again?
Valentine's Day, maybe?
Yeah, maybe it was a Valentine's Day gift. And it's on Valentine's Day, which is interesting. Maybe it was a sale.
Not just a pretty face, huh?
Valentine's Day sale. There we go.
Yeah. Pogo, yeah. Amazing.
So, but that's going to make a huge difference on maybe like his contribution margin of that day, right? So if Jake wanted to say, like, I might run this exact same sale next year, if he's building out the calendar, he has to talk to his product team or his forecasting team to say, these are how many units I think we need available ahead of time. So he's doing that analysis maybe 90 days ahead. And then he has to understand, like, what were the economics of that sale against those products that I sold? So if we specifically honed in on like the 14th, and Jake, I apologize if some of these numbers aren't exactly right. I don't want to paint a negative picture. We're still kind of honing in the amount of spend that goes towards each product. So some of these contribution margin numbers could be a little wonky, but you can see, let's focus in on the top seller for a second.
It's actually a question he had, Logan, that we can get to in a sec.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll get to it. I'll take a pause here in a second to breathe. I get excited, but
you're killing it. You're killing it.
So anyway, let's use this. This is a good example of a specific day that had a massive spike in sales. Okay. Jake ran a sale and now he wants to go back in time and analyze the effects of the sale. And should he run it again next year? So some things we can see right out of the gate: revenue, contribution margin, and gross profit. So what gross profit is showing us is pretty much just revenue minus COGS. So it's cost of goods. And then contribution margin goes ahead and it takes out the amount you spent towards that product on ads. And so here we can continue moving over to the side. We can see he sold almost 1,000 of these, almost 1,000 of the mango pineapple with an AOV of 79. Pretty low spend. I would imagine he probably focused on returning customers and repeat through his sale. And you can see his like CPA is less than $1, which is fantastic, right? And even new customers that he brought in at $9, $10 on a $78, $79 AOV. Like so far what I'm seeing feels good. Yeah. So like if I were to look at these two products specifically on this day, I would say this is a really big hit. I'd love to hear from Jake, like whether or not he felt like this sale went well for him, but it looks like he was able to offload a lot of inventory and still bring home some profit, almost 50% gross profit and a little less than 50% or a little over 50% contribution margin actually for these two products, which is fantastic, I think. What are you guys thinking when you see this?
I love it. I mean, this is honestly, I mean, I'm a data guy, so get me any data. I want a fork and knife burrito, you know, where it's completely full.
Oh, you slicing it down the middle first?
Oh,
I
bougie
don't care where I
Sonder.
start. You just fill that burrito full of lots of meat and whatever else, and I'm set. So, yeah, I love, honestly, like the contribution margin, the gross profit. This to me is like so impactful to understand where we're most profitable as a business and what products we should be pushing. I loved what Jake mentioned. He's now able to kind of know when their inventory out of stock will be based on, you know, their ad spend and things like that. So he's able to create calculations and kind of benchmark out that way. And so, you know, I just think, yeah, I mean, there's days of stock there. So, you know, I think this is just like super helpful when you're working with your factory because we're always trying to manage cash flow as business owners. So, you know, I think this is just chef's kiss product analytics. So good.
Yeah. So thanks, Sonder. I appreciate that context because so one thing to think about here is we're analyzing one single day, right? So what this is saying here in days of stock is actually based on the trajectory of this day's sales. This is how much you'd have in stock if you continued this trend, which is hard to keep up considering it's you know, a flash sale or something of that sort that you can't just keep the buzz going for a long time. But I do think what's worth noting too is that Jake can now, let's say he wanted to run a test or if he was trying to understand like how this sale compared to Black Friday, for example, if he has a finite number of products that he's selling, he can actually go through and understand like the contribution margin per unit for a sale like this and maybe utilize, if he thinks that's healthy, $24 is a healthy contribution margin per unit sold. You can use that to back into your new customer acquisition cost moving forward. So what I want to, that's kind of like the next thing I wanted to wrap into is how can you take this analysis and define the product mix you want to lead with prospecting and repeat customers. And then what's a healthy contribution margin for your business? And how do you take that into defining a new customer acquisition cost goal? So let's expand this again. Let's look at like all of, let's take January into account. So we don't have that big sale day. Let's see. Okay, nice.
We are getting a lot of questions too, Logan, that I'm
Oh, do you want to pause, take some questions
How
before I get into the next
exciting. I
round?
love questions.
Yeah, let's just start with I mean, maybe you can talk quickly on, I know you said the spend's a work in progress and how we're dynamically pulling it in, but
good. Yeah. So basically the way I understand it, and Sonder, tell me if AJ's explanation to you came across differently, but for this specific product, let's say that you have ad dollars that are going into an order. Someone places an order for, let's say, the mango pineapple, okay, and they add a shaker bottle, the entire order now has a CPA value to it. Let's call it $10. I believe we're splitting that $10 amongst the products that were in the order.
That's exactly my understanding from AJ. So it doesn't necessarily matter. You don't have to be sending someone to a specific landing page or product page or collection page. It's completely based on the percentage of that CPA cost by the product's purchase. So just like you said. But
Yeah.
that was one of the questions I had. Like, does it matter? Do we have to send them to a specific page in order for it to count? So just wanted to cover that.
Yeah, and I think this is a good. I saw another question that might allude to this as well. I think that this is not meant to replace the pixel. So if you have specific ads that are running towards a collection of products or a specific product, and maybe during that date period that you're looking at in the pixel that you are offering a free shaker bottle with purchase, 20% off, you still want to look at your AOV, your cost per acquisition, of those campaigns, not just per product. This is more so to like try to analyze your store over time. Anytime you want to figure out like what's slow moving, what's fast moving, what has the biggest margin, what has the lowest margin for me. I know a lot of you out there probably try to keep a similar gross margin on any product. But sometimes that doesn't always work out. Like you want to launch a new product, but it has 50% margin instead of 75%, which makes your acquisition costs different, like the goal that you would want to achieve. And so maybe that product should become more of like a life cycle product where returning customers can get access and focus there. But we'll get to that in a minute. So I just want to make sure that everyone continue to look at the pixel to understand economics of your orders and the AOV and cost per acquisition there.
And Logan, to answer the question that's up here right now, it's going to be any ad platforms that you have connected to Triple Whale is my understanding. So that will be Google, that will be Facebook, Pinterest, any of the ones, TikTok, Snapchat, any of the ones that we dynamically integrate with. So it wouldn't currently be for like Bing or Twitter or any of those that we don't currently, or I guess natively integrate with.
Yeah, if there's nothing in the spend column in the pixel, then we don't have access to the spend data there. Yep.
All right, one last, I'll let you answer this one, Logan.
No, yeah, I think this is what I was alluding to with the pixel page. So, for example, if you were giving a product away with mango pineapple, the COGS are only going to take into account the COGS of the mango pineapple. So it's not, if they bundled that together with something else, we're not including that COG as well. We're not including the buy one, get, well, if for buy one, get one, I'm sorry, I'm messing up this answer. Yes. I was thinking if you were getting the free gift with purchase, but I think all in all, yes, whatever was available in the order. I don't know. I'm confusing myself, Sonder.
It should be
by product, not by order.
Well, because contribution margin's still a derivative of revenue, right? And so if revenue is coming in at a discount with like a BOGO, then we're accounting for that revenue decrease minus all of the, then the gross profit and everything else that comes into play, right?
Yeah, it just needs to be focused on I'm sorry, I've totally confused everyone, but it needs to focus on the per unit economics. So I believe when a discount is applied, even if it's BOGO, I believe what happens is each product gets discounted 50% once it's added to cart. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. No, that should be right. I mean, if it's a BOGO, get one free, then it's probably free when you go to the checkout. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like the line items in the order. If one is 100% and the other is 0, then you made 0 revenue on the second product, but the COGS still exist. If it splits at 50-50 to become, you know what I mean? If it's 50-50 and they're the exact same price, then that's the same as a BOGO. So yeah, it's a good question that I might have to come back to, like how we would treat something like that, just to make sure I give you the right answer. Because now I've gone myself in a circle.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they do it on the back end, I guess is really the question. How does Shopify
No, that's
do
a
it?
really good question though. Like if you give
It's a
one
great
away
question.
in an order, yeah, how do we treat it? Fair enough.
Really good question. Is that kind of Richard's question as well, in terms of do we kind of need to punt this spend stuff until we have a little bit more clarity there? So
Let me see if I can find
Richard,
Richard's question.
got it up here. Okay. Go ahead and kill your answer, Sonder. Maze. This is from Richard.
Yeah, well, this is similar but different because this is going back to what Sonder was saying. This is not about where where you're driving the traffic of the spend. It
Yep.
comes down to the acquisition cost. So if the customer bought product or SKU A versus SKU B, that CAC just goes into that product. If they buy both, then we split the CAC between the products.
Okay. Amazing. Is that helpful, Richard? Okay, Maze.
We have a follow up from Tyler. If you want to jump into more of the spend.
So if you launch a manual Facebook ad, non-feed, this report will still capture that spend if TripWell can associate with the product sale. Nope, not looking at traffic. It's all about the acquisition cost. So let's just say you have order 1, 2, 3, and it includes mango, pineapple, and tropical punch. Because of the costs that are associated with getting that order, that's your CAC, customer acquisition cost per order, essentially. We would take that cost per order, the amount spent on achieving that order, and split that cost between the products. So every order in your store has a cost per order associated with it. We're just splitting we're splitting the ad spend by every order.
Great answer, Logan. Great answer.
Amaze. Ooh. Can I throw a spicy one in here for Kelsey?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean,
the
this is kind of what I wanted to
$1
go into a
question.
minute ago.
Yeah.
When it comes
Great
down to like
question, Kelsey.
contribution margin per unit. So yeah, let's look at something here. So Jake here is operating. We're looking at we're looking at January. And I won't show Jake's summary page just to make sure that we're not giving away too much of his data. But just focusing here, let's pretend that Jake's AOV is somewhere in the $75 range, splitting between these higher values and some of these lower values. And on average, he's bringing in somewhere with these higher revenue products, maybe somewhere in like the $38, $37, maybe $35 contribution margin per unit. Now, when you're looking at this is per unit. So this is where you need to focus on like your high margin units versus low margin units. You could be overspending on a certain product and actually not making money on the product. That's more what this is for. When it comes to finding out the right CAC for your entire store, you're going to follow a similar cadence here where you're going to look at your average order value or look at your bounds. Let's say you sell one thing that's $2,000 and other things that are 100. You need to make sure that your marketing strategy and your acquisition strategy are aligned between those two. But let's say that in this instance, most of your products are the exact same price. Take your average order value and then back that down to your contribution margin per order. So take out things like your ideal spend. And we'll get to that too. It's almost like in math where you have an X where spend is because you don't know what that is yet. But back out your AOV, the COGS that are related to your AOV, the shipping charges for getting that out the door. Find out what you're left with at that point. Let's pretend that at that point, Jake is, his CPA is really low. So like $2 and $3. New customer acquisition here. Looks really high. I think this is actually inflated a bit based on the way the math works out. But then, so let's say you're at $70 AOV. Let's say COGS are 30% of that. So now we're at $21 off the 70, which puts us at what? 49? Am I doing that right? You guys tracking so far? We're at $70 AOV minus the COGS.
Yep.
30%. That's $21.
Okay.
Now we have $49 left in the pie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say shipping costs us $7.
Okay.
Now we have $42 left in the pie.
Okay.
To figure out your new customer acquisition cost, you need to decide how much are you willing to take away from your $42 and to keep your business alive. Do you need 10 extra dollars? So then you're willing to take a $32 in CAC. Are you okay to break even? You can spend $42 per order if you'd like. But that's how I'd back into it, is understanding on the per order basis, what do I need to make as far as contribution margin, revenue minus variable costs? What do I need to make per order to feel comfortable and confident scaling my business? And that's why the ones who have seed funding or venture funding will go upside down on contribution margin, meaning they'll go in the negative on their acquisition costs because they want to grow with the idea that their LTV 60, 90, 180 pays themselves back. Are you following that? Who was asking that? Is that Rachel or
Kelsey, I believe.
Kelsey? Hopefully Kelsey can hop in the chat and let us know if that. But are you guys tracking me too? Like the way I back that out is take your average order value, reduce the amount of costs that come with that, the COGS, and then reduce your shipping to come up with a number there. That's like your gross margin. And then determine how much of your gross margin are you willing to give away for acquiring the customer.
Yep. Exactly how I'd look at it. And like in this specific case with Jake, he might be willing on the first order to break even or spend a little bit more because it's a consumable, and he might have people coming back every 30 days, or he has a subscription set up with Recharge or a similar app like that, where it's like, all right, I know 60% of the people who buy the first time keep their subscription for 6 months. And so then you get more into like the business model that way. So you need to make it work. Like if you're a clothing brand or retail brand that way, you might not have customers come back and buy until a new season comes out. Right. And so you just really need to take into account your business model and how that all works in regards to everything that Logan just shared.
This is a really good question from Richard, and I just want to toss it in there. Oh, 7 upvotes on the questions. Feisty people today. I love that.
Nice.
Oh, there's another one that Kenny has, but I'm gonna toss this in here.
I'm trying to get this other one in here as well. That's
okay. You can take the next one. Then
longer.
I just want to talk. How do you balance a low contribution margin and customer acquisition? Seems like you will scale, and run out of funds. It's exactly what you will do. So you can think of a wish.com. You can think of like all these people that are paying a crap ton of money for people that, and they're selling products that they don't have. Another way to think about this is literally the drop shipper model.
Yeah, I was going to say this is what dropshippers did. I mean, there was arbitrage on Facebook. They were working off of like really small contribution margin in general, but they could do it at really high scale. And so they would make like $3 off every unit sold, like back in their pocket, but that was fine because they never had to hold any inventory.
Yeah. And there's that joke, make it up in volume. That is something that I would really shy away from, especially if you're bootstrapped or don't have a bunch of access to cheap capital, because this is super capital intensive. And if anything changes in your acquisition funnel, things get really, really murky. So the too long didn't read here is if you have low contribution margins, stay away from putting any semblance of paid media behind that. If the product is like, people like it, maybe figure it out. Like you can still keep it on your website and sell it, but low margin products just ain't the path. It is very challenging. There's just less of the pie to go around. And so you can almost think of like that as your padding for error, or I don't want to use margin, but like your margin of error. Think of it this way. If you're really, really muscular, when you have a bunch of muscle, you can do a lot more fuckery with your diet. Whereas if you don't have a lot of muscle and you have a bunch of fat, you really have to eat clean to get results. And so big muscular people have a bunch of high margin, where low muscular people have a bunch of fat, and it gets really scary to do things there. So really good question, Richard. Okay, Sandy, I know you got some people on deck. So
analogies. Look at that.
Let's go.
We
Let's go,
missed
kids.
those. We missed those.
Let's go, kids.
I mean, yeah, I can go. I can do this one. So this was from Nikki. Just some questions about why we would attribute ad spend this way. I think this is more. It's more just a dynamic way to categorize the ad spend and what portion of spend is going towards people buying products. So I wouldn't say the way that this is calculated. I mean, I wouldn't put a crazy amount of weight into what I'm seeing on the spend side here. I think it is where I would be looking is more on my CPA side, new customers buying these products, what I'm pushing in my advertising that way. I think this is just like a creative and cool way to get a ballpark number of how your spend is being attributed. So I think it's hard to come in and just say like, this is a silver bullet of every single dollar that has been spent on this product. And what we're doing is taking it as Logan shared around CPA and spend that way. So I think this is, to me, probably the best way to do it versus if you're looking at all spend going to like a product page or a collection page, then it can get a little like sticky. So I think to me, this is like the least amount of friction to be able to create something like this and just have like a ballpark figure. I mean, what would you guys add to that?
Yeah, the one thing I was going to add is that I appreciate the feedback. So from a product management perspective, this is actually like a huge conundrum that we fall up against. Just like, how do we make this decision? And none of these decisions have to be set in stone either. So we appreciate the feedback. And if you have other ideas for how we could make the spend and CPA metrics more accurate in your eyes, we'd love to hear it so that we could build that in. But the way we thought about this was, let me see if I can try and take my words and mold them in a way that will make a lot of sense here. So I just don't like spit on you guys. But essentially, let's say that you had an ad campaign that was running to a collection page. What we didn't want to do is just assign equal credit of that ad spend to every product that was available on the page for the customer to potentially order. What made more sense to us right out of the gate was that wherever you're sending the individuals with the spend, let's say every click, outbound click cost you $2.50. Well, all those clicks add up and those customers or visitors at some point, some of them convert. So we were saying out of everyone who came to the site from this ad, what did they actually order? And then we split the costs amongst what they actually ordered, not what they could have ordered. But a cool product thing that's coming out soon is that we're going to allow you to assign products to ads. So if you're saying that ad A from Facebook is actually all about promoting product A, you can assign it there. And I think that will help make this a bit more granular and exact. But at the same time, if you're pushing people to product A and they decide to buy product B, we don't want you to be in the dark on the acquisition cost of product B, even though you took them to product A. It just may have not been what they wanted. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. Nikki, does that answer your question? I think honestly, it's a super hard, it's just a very technical way to like, it's hard, to find like the perfect way to go about this without having like a bunch of different like models that you can select and, just adding potentially more friction. So yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, but Nikki's typing here now. So yeah, I think anyway, just to be clear, to even be more clear, like the idea here was just to take the products that are being bought from your ads and divvying up that cost per acquisition per the products that were available in the orders.
Ooh, this is a really good pushback though. Because I am a little bit fuzzy on kind of the explanations, but that is a really interesting pushback here, Logan, for you is, so Nikki, thank you for the answer. I would just be concerned that poor ad spend is being absorbed by high selling products, even if unrelated. Do we have any like deduping there or like?
Yeah, but give me an example of how that would happen.
So you're saying that like I have this ad spend that I get to X product, but I don't buy X product. I end up buying Y product, but X product would get said ad spend, right? and so that
That
product
X
would
product wasn't ordered, right? You're saying they bought Y
or
product.
excuse me, Y product would get at that ad spend, but the ad spend was actually originally for X product. And
Mhm.
so that would be misattributed to product Y when I'm actually not running the ads against product Y. I'm running the ads against product X. And so that ad spend is attaching itself to the high selling product. And maybe I'm just not understanding the attachment function
Well, I think
in a
you
high
explained it.
fidelity.
You explained it perfectly. I think what my pushback is that this is a challenge that we at Triple Whale need to solve for the marketer. I think
Yeah.
there is a big disconnect between what you think your customers want and where you're sending them versus what they actually buy sometimes. And so in this case, like in that use case, let's say Raba orders product Y, but you send them to product X's page. Raba cost you $20 on that order to acquire him,
Mm-hmm.
and he bought product Y. So
Mm-hmm.
why not? Why shouldn't product Y get the cost when your order got that cost? And we need to identify that we need to identify that, hey, you were trying to promote this product, but they didn't. They bought this other one.
Yep.
But I don't know how else to give product X credit there when product Y was bought.
I mean, I feel like that's just an exception that's going to exist, and you're probably going to see that in your metrics if you're advertising for X product and it's not selling, but Y product is selling. You're probably not going to keep pushing ads to X product anyway. It would be cool to I don't know how we would even convey that though.
That's fair.
Because I'm trying to think it would be cool potentially on the Pixel page or the Facebook section on the Pixel page, if there was a column what product was purchased, you could start maybe mapping that way and seeing, are people actually buying the products that we're advertising for?
This exact thing happened to me with Google Ads. When you do smart shopping or shopping ad, you can see the cost per click on any given product that was displayed. But then you got to figure out, did they actually buy that product? From Google's side, your cost per click could be the lowest it could be for product X. Doesn't mean they bought it. Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we tend to not get that granular unless it's very clear that a business has a hero product or a tripwire product that you are pushing.
Oh, I like Tripwire. I call it Gateway. I like Tripwire. That's it better.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd identify that. And
no, I'm with you. I see the technical limitations. I just think it's a fair pushback in terms of some of the analysis. But I get your point, Logan, and how how would we attribute that to that if you don't buy it? And so
it's a good gap.
That's maybe
one thing you could do though is look at there's a cost per acquisition cost for the products that are actually ordered, but then you could self-identify a product in an ad and then associate a cost per click against that. And so you could look at cost per click against any type of ad and see which one's your lowest. But then you have to go downstream and associate an AOV with everyone who came through that page from that ad. What's their order value and what products did they purchase?
What do you guys generally include in CAC? What do you suggest?
You mean outside of just the actual spend from the platform?
Yeah, because that to me is CPA.
Yep. And what are you defining CAC as?
CAC is this very nebulous term. Nobody has a universal definition. That's why I was kind of wondering where you landed on, because you can do all in CAC where it's all your kind of fixed costs with your marketing team. You can do adding some sort of variable cost. So I was just wondering what you guys, or I guess I can lay the groundwork, and then I'd love to hear your ideas and or thoughts, and then also from the chat. So for example, ad spend. If I have an agency that is on a retainer, I don't know if I necessarily include that in my CAC. But if I have an agency that is on a percent of spend, I do include that in my CAC because that becomes a variable cost. And so instead of it only costing me $1 to deploy this dollar in paid media. It actually cost me $1.10 because I have to pay a 10% premium to deploy that. And so that's why, again, this is all contextual to the business. I just want to hear where you guys were at in terms of CAC, because it is this really weird nebulous term that also sometimes gets conflated, in my opinion, with CPA, which is not the same thing. Like a CPA is essentially I paid X on a platform and I got you to do Y thing, or like a CAC is you add in some extracurriculars that matter to you.
I can go first. I like breaking down CAC by channel. And for the most part, what I factor into that, if it's Google, it's probably most of my investment is going to be ad spend, right? Like maybe you could factor in maybe some like catalog photography or something like that if you wanted to.
Okay.
When I look at like Facebook CAC, then I'm probably looking more at like my creative investment, any kind of agency retainer, and my ad spend. So it kind of is like more of a blended CAC. And then to me, I then like to cross-check that or have my checks and balance with like a MER, which I would include all my costs. And so for me, that's going to be, I shouldn't say all my costs, all the costs I just mentioned above. Anything on the creative side, anything with agencies, anything with ad spend. And then the other metric I really like is just overall marketing ROI. Which to me is my entire.
So that's what I call like an all-in. Yeah, like an all-in CAC is what I would refer to that as. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And so I guess I just like to differentiate it with an ROI instead of like having all these like different.
But what's the difference in your ROI and your blended ROAS?
ROI is going to be like all my overhead for my like staff, right? So I'll be adding actually all of that into my ROI.
Like their salaries would go into.
Yep. So yeah, more salaries. I guess it's not full like overhead, like desk space and laptop, like that. I'll let the accountants figure that stuff out. But I guess we do. Actually, I did factor that in. So what we would do is I would take salaries and divide it by 10. And that would more or less factor in most of our overhead costs. So instead of dividing it by 12, I would divide it by 10 for the monthly cost. And that was like a good derivative of benefits and any kind of like other overhead. So I guess I technically did factor that in to some degree.
So for me, one of the issues, and I will love to hear you pontificate, Logan, but one of the issues also with CAC is there's departments that have nothing to do with acquisition. And so would you count those people in CAC? Like, yes, no. And so that's why it gets to a closer point of like marketing ROI, or like what's the return on investment in terms, because these are people that are on retention plays or that have nothing to do with acquisition. So why would you internalize those costs in the acquisition function? But again, like this is why the conversation is so interesting to me, is because there's just so many different, like you can look it up. Like there's literally not any like definition. It's very business specific, and ultimately data is for you to make better decisions. And so if you know what goes into your CAC calculation, then you can understand, hey, I know that X, Y, and Z things aren't going to change. I know that A, B, and C things are variable and they're going to scale with the unit economics. And then you can start to modulate that way. But where do you land, Logan?
Yeah, well, I'll start at the definition level. And you can shoot me after I'm done with this if you hate my response, but I use CPO, CPA, and CAC synonymously to mean blended cost per order, all orders over that given time. So CPA, cost per acquisition, CPO, cost per order, CAC, cost per acquisition. I think of those as the exact like synonymous, and you use them based on whatever you're most comfortable with. In e-commerce, I think they're the same, but that's just my opinion. So I take all ad spend, and that's what I'm focused on mainly is ad spend. And then going to your question about what's included in, like Sandra brought up a really good point around product photography.
We'll see you later, Jake. We'll see you later, Richard. Thanks, guys.
See you, Jake and Richard. That's a big part that I think is a high cost for a lot of brands that as they scale, as they try to get better photography, they're sending their products to an outsourced firm to maybe do.
So do you include that in CAC?
No, I do that in blended ROAS and marketing efficiency ratio.
So where do you put like a social media manager?
No, I didn't. I mean, when we did it at the brand I was with before, we didn't put like my salary into that marketing efficiency ratio,
Mhm.
because the thing is, if you take me out of the equation, you have to replace me with something else. Like I
But
guess that was
you're
small
fixed
potatoes,
though.
but
But you're
yeah.
fixed is the
Mhm.
thing. Like I know how much I'm going to spend on you, whether I make $0 or $1,000.
Yep.
So for me, like again,
I mean,
it
not
gets
really.
back
There's
to,
bonuses, but sure. Yeah. Keep
I
going.
mean, but you know what the bonuses are. So it's like, I mean, the variance is very little. Basically, I have to pay you X amount no matter what. And I know I have to pay you X amount at X or Y amount at Y if you hit whatever your goals are. Like it's not part of the unit economics is what I'm trying to get at. It's not a variable cost.
Yeah, and that's why. I mean, I just didn't put it into CAC for that reason. I put it in as a fixed expense, and it was an operating expense.
Right. But then why wouldn't, so that's where, again, why this gets really fuzzy for me is like, where do you draw the line at operating expense versus is it where it literally hits the P&L? Is it how you think of it? Because technically shipping's an operating expense. Like you don't internalize, but it's really actually nice to see like take shipping out of gross profit because you want to see, oh, cool, this is where I get it. But when you internalize shipping, it's on the operational level. It's not at the gross level.
Yeah, but shouldn't shipping expenses get better with quantity? Like it should.
No,
Like
not necessarily.
you should be negotiating rates with all of your vendors so that the
You
more
should
the
be,
more
but
volume you.
how many people have time to renegotiate rates?
Well,
And
that's
then
what the
you
COO should do. But yeah,
right, but what if you don't have a COO?
then your CEO should do it. The CEO should be handling that.
Your
Like
CEO should be handling negotiating shipping rates, dude. Yeah,
100%. Why not? That's your business.
because
It's their
they're doing
lifeblood.
78 million other things, and
I
so
think
it's
that's.
like
I would love for anybody to hop in the chat and tell me I'm wrong, but if that's
how often? Let me push back. How often do you renegotiate shipping rates?
I've never been a CEO.
Ugh,
No, I'm just asking. I'm just like
getting
this
spicy.
isn't every month, dude.
I
This
mean,
is
I know,
6
but
months,
every year, or maybe every
Okay,
6 months, whatever you
so
can.
how many times is that really going to change then?
No, I know, but it becomes a variable expense because every quarter you can renegotiate, or every 6 months, then it's
Yep.
going to change.
Yeah, but what if they say no, go somewhere else, and then it doesn't change?
Why can't that be a part of the equation? You go to ShipBob or you go wherever and you get a better rate.
No, I totally. Okay. Anyways, we're in the weeds right now, but the too long didn't read is this is a really contextual to the business, in my opinion, thing with like CAC is not CPA. Like CAC is how much I paid to acquire the customer, and I can add in all my little bits and pieces. But CPA is literally a platform metric. I paid X platform to get somebody to do Y thing. But that's just my my viewpoint. I take your eloquent argument. I just don't.
Well, to bring it full circle for everyone, why would CPA even matter to you? It's not really a real metric. It's like
because
almost
you get to
fake.
the channel level,
But you're not
That's
taking
under-
in all the actual costs that it takes to get there.
but that's where you get to the SG&A, where like these are
Well, then fine.
operational.
Don't
like
worry about
how-
any of that
how-
stuff and just
how efficient
flag
they
it
are,
and
how
get a profit and
efficient
loss statement.
Yes, I'm saying, but that's how efficient is your operations, and that's where you look at your marketing, your SG&A, et cetera, and then how efficient is your actual marketing per channel is where for me CPA comes in, where it's like I'm getting X CPA on this channel, but Y CPA on this channel.
Sure. I just call it same, but different.
Love it. I love it.
I mean, the product photography gets split between the channels, right? I have to go get every product photograph that costs money. I take those funds and it gets split between every order because those same the photography gets used for Google, TikTok.
What about photography for products you didn't run ads behind?
It's still a cost though. That's why I said I would use that for my MER, like my marketing efficiency ratio. It's a marketing expense that I'm incurring.
So every marketing expense that you incur, you put it in MER, but not salary.
No, yeah, I'm just saying what I did. We didn't put salary in there.
So what happens if your product photographer is on salary? Shaboosh. You see how quickly it gets crazy? Because then you just said
you have a good accountant. That's what
you're
making the decision: should I outsource or insource? I mean, that's just
no.
decision,
I'm just saying
right?
how confusing it is to internalize it because you internalize it if it's outsourced, but you don't internalize it if it's in house.
Hey, all I know is my way is the right way to do it.
That's right.
That's where we landed. Okay. That's where we landed. There you go, Kelsey. Get the CEO to get them rates down. That's what it is. We got to turn up a little spice. You see, you guys got Grumpy Rabba.
Grumpy.
Okay. Oh, Tyler has a good one. Let's see. Myrrh at the product level would be sweet, as that's what defines our budget. But in order to make that happen, there needs to be a tie-in of what you advertise versus what they bought. If the purple shirt ads are driving red shirt sales, then there's no optics into that. So the info really isn't actionable. It's kind of, I think, what we were talking about a little bit earlier. But do you want to put a bow on this, Logan? Because I think you had a pretty good explanation where there's just some technical limitations currently right now for that.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good point, and I think where the feature we were discussing, where in the pixel you could assign a product to an ad, for example, and I think at that point you're basically getting a ROAS against that product based on the blended spend of any ads that are driving towards it. But if it never results in a sale, right, then there's a ROAS of 0. And yeah, you would see pretty quickly. The hard part is I just don't understand what you would do with the products that maybe you're not advertising that are getting bought. Like your visibility there would be a little, like, you'd be lacking. Am I wrong on that? Am I thinking about that right? Because like if you're spending money on a product that's not actually selling because they're buying something else, your acquisition costs are going to look really good because we know that someone who clicked on that ad bought something. It just might not have been the product you intended them to buy. So do you shut it down because they're not buying the product you wanted them to?
I would shift spend into advertising more on the product they bought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're saying the same thing different ways. Let us know, Tyler, if that answered your question or if that was, I mean, let's see.
That's why I think it goes down to the level of volume and CPA. I think the way that it's written here, like you would look at cost per acquisition and then the number of, the total units sold and revenue of that product, because we're taking the ad, it's like ad agnostic, right? We're just saying that you sold this many units, and out of all the ad spend where people clicked on ads and bought this product, this is how much it cost you on average, right? So you're looking for like the lowest
Right.
CPA, highest sold, basically that quadrant. And that's where you should focus your ad spend as long as margin's good.
I concur.
Yeah, no.
I think I need another juvie. I'm slowing down.
We all need a juvie after the CPA, CPO, CAC conversation.
Yeah, my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'm just gonna fly to Austin and beat up Raba. That's what I'm.
It's 75 hard, baby. Make sure you just get in your workout outside. You can beat me up outside.
Here's my thing, though. I don't have a dog in this fight. I think Raba should just write the marketing blog on what's right, and we should just follow it because I think it's great. If you say,
I don't think you're wrong.
I don't care. I think it's great.
I don't think you're wrong. Let me put it this way. The whole exercise was to show people that like it's very contextual to your business, and understanding that the way a P&L works doesn't necessarily need to be the same way as you see your data, because your data is going to give you the insights to then make better decisions. Whereas there's literal accounting methods like GAAP, et cetera, and how things should be internalized. There is some like wiggle room there. But anyways, I'm on the weeds. I'm also behind Kenny. Kenny, COO should definitely take care of shipping. CEO would murder him if he asked to get lower shipping costs. Absolutely team Kenny. And then Tyler said, I mean, that's just organic merchandising that's driving that sale. I'm not super tracking what that means. And then Carlos, what do we got? It would be great to have a 2-year LTV to have a bigger overview, especially for subscription-based companies. Something else that might be cool, 1 year or 2-year projected LTV. That could be interesting for each product purchase based on reach and purchase history and the previous LTVs. These are all great suggestions, Carlos. I really like that a lot. Do we have any thoughts on a projected LTV stuff? Is that coming soonish? Possibly, because that's really interesting.
Definitely forecasting and stuff.
Yeah. That's
but some of these forecasts, like we can do it. If you want to get really scientific, it can be difficult because you have to have a lot of data for us to maybe say a 1-year projection, and be confident about it. But yeah, if you had like 10 years of data and we could see that the folks who are buying this product after 1 year, 2 year, on average with confidence are worth this much money, then I think we could forecast it out.
Amazing. Oh yeah, I played with Retina AI. I don't hate it, don't love it. It's
I've heard of that. I don't know if I've used it.
Yeah, it's ish. Taylor Holiday's a big proponent of it. Yeah, they're okay. I always get really nervous about super, super long extrapolations just because like COVID or something like it's but definitely projections that should be something we should do a whale webbing on is how to maybe make some projections or something like that or how to forecast your year or something because that could be really cool. I think having an understanding of where you're at, where you want to go, and how to track that. And then I have some thoughts there, but we are 6 minutes over. Kenny, one last question. What has it got? Can we custom make our own columns with formulas we want to use?
Not yet, but we're working on custom columns in general for Pixel, and it would probably roll over to this product too.
Yep. Oh, Tyler's hit me with a regression. This guy knows what he's talking about. TP, let's go. Apologies for all the grab assing at the beginning and
your
Logan and
CPA
I-
took us totally off track.
I totally derailed us. Unbelievable.
Goodness.
So where would you put
great.
that loss? Would you put it in CAC or in CPA? Come
MER.
on, that's good. Tough crowd.
It would be the
tough crowd.
efficiency ratio of this meeting, which
Tough
was
crowd,
degraded
tough
by
crowd.
that discussion.
Tough. Well, you know what? Maybe you should just have your COO or CEO negotiate better robber rates, and that's where we end.
Better Robert rates. I'm gonna cap how much
What
Robert
is-
can talk during this next time.
Jesus, what a shit show this turned into. You people are amazing. My favorite day of the week. Sonder, what you got for us on the sign off? I know we're 7 minutes over, so we'll get this sussed up. What you got for me?
I think marketing ROI is great, and you should include all of your marketing employee salaries in calculating that because everyone should be focused on driving new customers. So
Got
take that,
it.
Robba.
Boom.
Taken, internalized.
Take it.
LB, what you got for me?
All right, so this is really good. This is like one of those products that I wasn't heavily involved in. So all these questions were great. I'm glad everybody's stoked on it. So feel free to anybody who wants to give me feedback on how we should think about spend per product, CAC per product. Send me an email, logan@triplewhale.com, and I'll make sure that two things happen. One, your feedback gets in front of the right people. And two, that we have a really strong knowledge base article that describes what we're doing now so that you can feel confident about the decisions behind the feature itself.
Amazing.
Sound good?
Well done. Well said. Yeah, I love that. Matt, it was actually both. So when we do those events, we'll usually have some people from the team. So we had like 6 or 7 triple whalers, 3 prospects, and 4 clients already. And one of the prospects actually closed. Attribution, baby. Nikki, thanks so much. Thanks for the great questions. Everybody, this has been fantastic. You are all incredible, wonderful people. If you're not already on Whale Mail, get on it. It's triplewhale.com/whalemail. Follow our Sonder, follow Logan. They're both on the Twitters. And Sonder is actually running something really awesome every Tuesday at, what is it, Sonder, noon? What time is it? Or that's noon central. I don't remember.
Yeah, noon central. So
Noon central. So that's 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m.
Mountain,
Pacific or Mountain. Excuse me. I can't even do maths anymore.
10 a.m.
10
Pacific.
a.m. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern. Every Tuesday, Sonder, Alejandro, and Raquel all jump on a call for an hour to just jam with whatever you guys want to. So hop in there, ocean hours, peek us for the deets, and then you all are wonderful humans. We're 10 minutes over, so sorry. But thank you for joining in. Like I said, this is one of my favorite parts of the week. So Sonder, Logan, until next week, appreciate you guys.
Peace.
Bye.